So this is a hook, but not all hooks are meant for bass fishing. I narrow it down to 5 styles and types that I use for all bass fishing applications. An offset round bend worm hook is kind of the multi-tool of hooks. This is like one of the most commonly used hooks. This is one I use for a lot of things. I use it for throwing a worm out deep. I use it up shallow, flipping around docks with thinner plastics, baby brush hogs, trick worms, old monster worm, mag 2, anything that doesn't have a lot of plastic to it. This is gonna offer your best hookup ratio for that style of bait, yet it's still got this offset bend to keep the worm up. It's not your straight shank hook, but this is a good casting hook. Casting worm hook is the best way to describe it. It's kind of the all-around go-to hook. A variation of the worm hook is the EWG offset hook. And what this is kind of the same style of hook, but it's got a big bite to it. And what makes this a good hook is sometimes you want to use like a big crawl, big fat, meaty bait. And this big bite will cut through that bait so that you still hook the fish. I use this a lot for like horny toads, for big fat crawl style baits, tubes, anything that's hard to get that hook through because you got a ton of plastic to it. So pretty good bait or hook for fishing up shallow too. If I'm making kind of long pitches or short roll cast with like creature style baits, kind of like flipping, but not truly like pitching flipping, more dragging up shallow. I like this wide gap hook, and it offers a good hookup for that. And it's a great, one of my favorite baits is a horny toad. It's a great horny toad hook, anything you've got a ton of meat to. A flipping style hook is a hook that has a specific application, but you've got to have it. It's I like the ones with the keeper up top, and this hook is made for flipping and pitching. It's for grass or shallow cover. I use it pretty much primarily when I'm using a big rod, short range, big line, making not cast at all, making just straight pitches and flips to grass, bushes, sometimes docks, but I go to that wide gap a lot around docks because you tend to make longer range kind of roll cast. This is specifically for that tight cover, tight range fishing, and they're always really beefy hooks. They're made for, big line, heavy weight, getting fish out of heavy cover, and they don't have many fail points. It's a straight hook with a big round bend. When it comes to the finesse applications, keep my hooks pretty simple finesse fishing. You've got your wacky worm hook. This is what I use almost all year. I always have a wacky worm tied on. This is a weed guard wacky hook. I actually only carry weed guard wacky hooks, and if I ever want a no weed guard for that open water application, I just cut the weed guard off. Carry a bunch of these, 1 to 3/0, and this is for finesse middle hook. When you hook the worm in the middle, wacky worm applications, a fluke stick, a trick worm, anything you're doing that with, light line. I keep a few bigger ones for maybe that, kind of heavy wacky worm application when I use a mag trick worm with a nail weight maybe, something like that. But it's just a 1 to 3/0, or really number 2 to 3/0 weed guard wacky hook. And the only other hook I keep plenty of in the boat is your split shot drop shot hooks. These are just small, very similar to a wacky hook, but with a slightly different bend. This is a small hook for drop shotting, for nose hooking baits. If I'm using really, really small, wacky Nico rig baits, such as like a super thin finesse worm or something like that, I'll use this same hook wacky rigging, but this is a nose hook drop shot hook, and it's a split shot drop shot style, very similar to a wacky hook, but smaller sizes, number 2, number 4, maybe number 1. It's meant to nose hook baits and catch fish out deep. It's great for smallmouth, great for spotted bass. When you hook them on this little bitty hook with 6-8 pound test, they don't come off. It fails very rarely. Your line will break because you're using light line before this hook pulls out. It's just a really small bite, but really sharp, sticky hook to catch fish on a drop shot or finesse style applications.